Rajamayanda, Zobe Sanje Ribada Shanson Demba Devarisha, Jidenjamba Jivon Deva Kalojo, Lana Meva Hada Menanje, Sanje Jumden, Bejawa Shaja Deva Chasen, Shudo Yazuji, Demba Jumden and the Jensha Rajamayanda, Zobe Sanje Ribada Shanson Demba Devarisha, Jidenjamba Jivon Deva Kalojo, Lana Meva Hada Menanje, Demba Sanje Jumden. Bejawa Shaja Tobala Chasen, Shudo Yazuji, Wandama Jumden and the Jensha Raja. Yanda Wanzo Sanje Ribada Shazun Demba Devarisha Banji. Given the Kalojo, Lana Meva, Lada Menanje, Sanje Jumden, Bejawa Shaja Toba, Chasen Jodo Yazuji, Kaze Ganyazo. Sergeant de la Command Dembrone, Manage den de la Georgia. The Zekava Jona Charles, the Nanda Kumacho, Jejazo Sege from Borda, Tavan Jedas, Gombochoni Jona Charles, and Sejon de Batimenta. Sendo Dawa Jona Charles, and the region of Siva so much. Yame Jensen Jona Charles, and Gombotu Jet. Tamje Campbell, the Babo, Solomon Data. The Shenshela Charles and Lord Haben de Jatu. Giving us on the region, Jido Television. Shinjo Jala Charles and Lord Gender Travel. Lavadala Rabdone, Shinga Tamay. Gindula Charles and Lord the watching ambitions. Gavabes also watching Rangi Sunday. Tene Sanje Demayi, Karmara Rimam. You must have a sugar down, Melam Lodantina. The gentleman de Rata, Solomon D. at Jesse. Kobanton ne Genjan Radu de Gada Nada, she will love to Sivia Solan Joan Juberation.
To the teacher, the blessed one, the full destroyer, completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, no other word, supreme guide of beings to be teacher of us and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror. Subdue from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sukata, no other word, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror. Subdue from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, no other word, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror. To subdue from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When no supreme among humans, you are born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then I prostrate. With a pure body's form, supremely pure, wisdom motion like golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds. We know the best, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the one gone to dustness I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma which pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realization, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the sublime community intending virtue I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, mirage, a flame of lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning and cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain record of all sin, subdue the four thoughts, and be delivered from motion of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje Jono Zoje Jono La Chanju Bando Dane Janzu Dagin Jenzo Jebe Tonam Je Rola Benje Sanje Sanje Jono Zoje Jono La Chanju Bando Dane Janzu Dagin Jenzo Jebe Tonam Je Rola Benje Sanje Sanje Jono Zoje Jono La Chanju Bando Dane Janzu Dagin Jenzo Jebe Tonam Je Rola Benje Sanje Sanje Jono Zoje Jono La Chanju Bando Dane Dagin Jeso Jebe Sonam Je and Rola Page, Sanjan Jubo.
We go for refuge and light, choose the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving in the perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. We go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving in the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving in the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Zobe Sanje Ribada Shazon Demba Dever Sheba Jiden Jemba Jebo Kano Jebo Tada Mena Jedema Sanje Jemden Deazo and Dishi Sheba Den Sona Dami Judo Gevezawa Nama Chume Zoba Severa Dojima Sonam Jetere Namishi Peja Saman Jedu Chanam Jemado Jebo Juyo Remba Dumo Tona Midima Tebe Mewa Nobraga Sheraba Sije Medobo Tona Naziva Sinjatam Jeju Tomba Chanju Seba Jaya Pabe Kazana Jejebo Yamene de Butrajelo Romana Jetebe Yeshepa Poba Simji Sonabata Yanyama Gujeta Veshomishibo Kusuma Mebo de Bata Sudagenya Magua Sume Bata and number two Kamana Medema Jeja Namanda Devana Mashiljibo Yonzo Dota Simon Sibale Jovachu and give a Yeshe Yonzo Deva Namajumba Sanju Jimde Yishela Neva, Yangela Deva Medeva Yandava Nijata, Simjatam Jana Sibisana Jumate, Didane Sanji Jumne, Kushibe, the Yanda, Namaso, Tabish, Tomagiva, Paduki, Tomagiva, Sindus of Mountain. Yozo Yozo Tabo Yozo Chawa Yanda, and then to Sheva Meba, what did one material. Kevana Jisozo and the river Jimden, the was between the one and the water. Nyabra Zobe Chanjo and Rova Jebo, Medeba Major de Bata, Temba Yuba Juba Jebo. Teba Chebe Gidan and Leva Juba, Wajubo, Temba Jebe, Charge. Sona Jebe Gishin, Yoyo Joan Jebo, Jimenez, Guno, Jimenez, Juba. Kangia to the Nezuna, Tawat and Japan, mentioned the Quadam de la Charts. So yeah, I think page 269. Why does Chandrakirti maintain that if the reasoning probing into suchness does not negate arising by virtue of intrinsic characteristic on the conventional level? So it would mean that ultimately established arising remain not negated as well. It is because the moment something is characterized as existing by virtue of its intrinsic characteristic, this in itself constitutes true existence. In that case, Chandrakirti maintained it makes no difference whether one applies the qualifier on the conventional level. So why does Chandrakirti maintain that if the reasoning probing into suchness does not negate arising by virtue of intrinsic characteristic on the conventional level? Right?
Excuse me, Gese.
Yeah.
Could you tell me what page are you?
269.
269. Thank you.
269, yeah. Chandrakirti maintained the no difference where they apply to the qualifier on the conventional level. So now there are countless instances in the sutra, in the writing of the Nagarjuna's father and son, in those of the master Chandrakirtis, where the object of negation is qualified in terms of such as by virtue of intrinsic characteristic, through intrinsic nature, by virtue of an essence. So Chandrakirtis are negating those characteristics by virtue of intrinsic characteristic, through the intrinsic nature, by virtue of essence, so on. Furthermore, as we saw above, Chandrakirti even takes some fellow Madhyamikas to be object of critique when he is engaged in such negations. So Chandrakirti and the Buddha Palitas, they are refuting that phenomena do not possess any, intrinsic quality. Phenomena does not really exist by nature. By nature is not a natural, not natural, because it's created, produced, constructed. So therefore, nothing is natural, nothing by nature. So, and then when this has been negated, and also brings the critique to some of the Madhyamika school, like the Savatantrika Madhyamika. So indisputably, right, it must be accepted exactly in this way. Otherwise, the conventional truth will come to possess objective evidence. Otherwise, the conventional truth will come to possess objective evidence. So the objectifying the conventional. Otherwise, if you do not refute the conventional realities, conventional reality if you don't refute conventional reality with intrinsic nature or by virtue of intrinsic characteristics, so then some level the conventional reality may possess objective evidence. So would it not? In that case, it would then become suchness itself, not conventional. So the mere absence of intrinsic characteristic is now what has, revealed by the wisdom realizing emptiness. Therefore, the emptiness itself is not the conventional. The conventional means things that are conceptually constructed or things that are created through the cosmic conditions or things that are mere creations, within the elements. So these are, we should refute that they arises intrinsically, they exist, by virtue of their characteristics. So then what has left for the Prasangika school? So the Prasangika school says that the illusion-like phenomena, dream-like phenomena, reflection-like phenomena has left. So that is, in Prasangika school, that is the real conventional, the way things exist. So thus the refuting approach whereby the being unsatisfied with the mere designation on the conventional level, one present the facts of the conventional truth on the basis of analysis, the reference of their designations. Chandrakirti objects that the facts in that case will become ultimately existence. So the Chandrakirti says, because the things are conventionally exist, which means things are, exactly like a dream, like a phenomena, an illusion, like phenomena. Therefore, they do not possess any intrinsic quality, or they do not really have any essence by themselves. So therefore, what should be, you should be satisfied with things. They are like reflections. If you do not satisfied, I'm not satisfied that the thinking everything is like a reflection, like phenomena, dream like phenomena. So I want more. The conventional reality should be some kind of intrinsic, something that conventional can stand with any analysis. So conventional truth, these consequences are being thrown against the someone who rejects the ultimate existing of form and so on, takes them to the conventional level. Conventional. Since this cannot be said to be a said of the proponents of the real entity, it is very clear that the opponents here is Savatantrika, Madhyamika. So I always say that Savatantrika, Madhyamika, so the way of understanding the conventional reality is each conventional reality has some degree of objective evidence. Objective evidence means there is something that is phenomena do exist from their own side. So it's not 100%, but there's a something, objective evidence within the conventional. And then with that, so conceptual, by labeling it, naming it, perceiving and experiencing, and then, things defined in a certain entity. So therefore, the Madhyamika Savatantrika thinks that when you analyze like a rising of the sprout, it is arised by itself, from other, or both, or without cause. So that is not the analyzing into suchness. Right. So authentic Madhyamika thinks this is not the analyzing of the suchness. This is the reality as it is. So if you cannot find the things arises by itself, and then only option left, things should be arises, things should be born from other.
So the illusion-like phenomena, unreal phenomena, is for the Madhyamika Tantrika, they don't really accept that. You know. I think that's one of the reasons. Yeah. So, what is the objective evidence? For example, maybe you can say the color. What is the objective evidence for the color? So, what is the degree of the color could exist by their own essence? So, if the color, the color is already, identified entity, right? Color is the already identified entity. So, identified entity means subjectively identifying. So, maybe that very identity of the color may be half and half from the object side and the subject side, and then the color that has identified as the white or the black or orange. So now the question is, what is the degree of the objective evidence for the color? So if you think, so the color has objective evidence because the color is the part of the form which is different from the eye consciousness, right? Different from the eye consciousness. So there's some kind of form, like see the leaf is the form, and the greenness, the green color of the leaf is the color of the leaf. So then this is the color of the leaf is subjectively identified. So therefore, it is not 100%, truly exist, because this leaf and the subject, the consciousness, and together they're identified as the green. So that the green has to be, subjectively identified entity. So this, I think this much. The Prasangika also says yes, the greenness of the leaf is subjectively identified entity. Now, the subjective identity entity is the greenness by itself. There is no essence from the leaf to be green. So there is no objective evidence from the leaf to be green. And Madhyamika Savatantrika says, yes, this is the greenness is existing by the essence of the leaf.
Yeah, I think that there's greenness.
Yeah. So there's the greenness is existing from the essence of the leaf. So so then they also accept the leaf and the light and the space, and the eye sense powers are together they create the greenness. If the together they create the greenness, so why so then why the greenness is the construct or the creation of the light, space, sense power, and the leaf? Because the leaf has already the greenness, from by the essence of the leaf itself, and why why it has to be created. So when the green is already there, and there's no need to create the green from the light, space, and sense power. I think this is pretty much, right now, many of the some of the scientists also say that, right now it seems like the Prasangika school is, Prasangika school says that the greenness of the leaf is not the object. There's no any objective evidence from the leaf from the leaf side, from the leaf, and there is no objective evidence from the light. There is no objective evidence from the eye sense power. There is no objective evidence from the space, but altogether, there's something has created as a green. So I think that you see the difference. They all agree on one thing: the greenness comes from the sense power, the light, and the space and the form. So, and at the same time, there's a certain degree of the greenness is already there before, the leaf, the contact with the light and space and the sense power. So now the question is, if there is already a green before, it reflects on eye sense power. So what consciousness, what subject that has evidence, what subject that has perceived the greenness? And the second is, if the greenness is, objective evidence of the greenness is, prior to, before having contact with eye sense power, it is already there. And why greenness has to be created through, sense power in the space and the light. So maybe there was is a perceptive greenness. This is what sense the scientist says, that the perception kind of, what is that? The greenness for the perceptions has to be created through the contact of the space and light and sense power. The green itself is independent, it's already there. So now the question is to you. So, the perception, the green that perceived by the eye consciousness has to be created, created through the space and the contact with the eye sense powers and the space and lights. And then there's another level of the greenness that is pre-exist, independent from the sense power, independent from the light, independent from the space. So now you have to say the eye consciousness haven't really experienced or apprehends the greenness that is within the leaf. Eye consciousness only perceive the green that is created, in the contact of the sunlight and then the sense power in the space. So then you have to say eye consciousness did not really see the greenness of the leaf. So that's the Prasangika school thinks. There is no such things, the greenness, objectively evident within the leaf. So whatever the greenness that comes to understand and experience is the creations, between the sense power and the leaf.
I'm trying to imagine, Geshe, how people would have known that, other than surmised or guessed at it. Modern science didn't exist then. Of course, if someone is blind, they can't see any color. But I guess if maybe there were kind of color filters in those days. I'm not quite sure I understand how people in these times would have been able to even separate objective and subjective.
Yeah. They're all just eating by hand, So how can they know? Now we are much more intelligent. We can eat with spoon, with spoon.
No, I know you must feel. Maybe I'm saying some kind of arrogant Westerner who does. Everything was discovered in the West in modern times. I get the thrust of what you're saying, but this kind of distinction, I guess it's obvious there's a distinction between objective and subjective when it comes to emotional things, because everyone has their own separate reactions. But when you get to the perceptual world, it's not quite as obvious that people see things. That perception is breaks down so neatly into objective and subjective. I mean, because most everyone sees green, and of course, if you could see through an eye of a lizard, then you would obviously conclude that
I remember.
Apparently exist.
I remember you were telling me the lizards, how smart they are. Although they have no sense of color, so they can change the colors.
The aliens.
So they are very smart. They can change. So I should be green in this way because I save in the tree. So I should be more oranges, but they don't see the color.
I mean, I'm trying to think how I would know that, how I would examine that to see something like I mean, other than hearing these philosophical distinctions, how I would come to that conclusion on my own. That green is I mean, I can see it, how interdependent things are. But I mean, even in the earlier, the Tantrika, and I mean, the earlier schools of Buddhism didn't recognize this interdependence. It's not, I mean, if it was that obvious, then even the early schools would be able to recognize that green wasn't inherent. But I think the earlier schools maybe couldn't make this distinction. Am I right or wrong about that?
Yeah, I think, yeah. But in the Vaishnav school, so they have, one day they says, Tagardan Tungardans. In Vaishnav school, there's a, what do you call it? There's the small reasoning that, what do you call it? Yeah, I would say maybe in the Vaibhashika school, there's one line that says, white horse and white, what do you call it, the conch?
Conch shell?
Conch shell, yeah. White conch shell and white horse, so are not white. So this is what they says. White conch and white horse. So what they're trying to say is white horse is the, what do you call it, is the sentient being. Sentient being, can have a color, but sentient being cannot be the color. So this is, they only can say like that. They are not really capable of analyzing how the white existing, but they are able to distinguish the sentient being. Some sentient being can be seen white, some sentient being can be seen yellow and orange, right? like the parrot, So the Vaibhashika school says they can be seen in the color, but they are not color. They are sentient beings. And then what is the sentient beings? Or sentient being is the Vaibhashika school thinks that sentient beings, the collections, it exist, in the collections of the mind and the body. So this much they can say, but they are not really, specifically analyzing how the color that exists is the subjective or objective.
See, even I like this idea of sentient beings being like collections.
Yeah.
But I heard a few minutes of a very interesting talk this week by Krishnamurti. I don't know if you're familiar with Krishnamurti, and he was saying it's probably around 1970, I suspect, that he was asking, what is the human being? And he was asking that, he says, because we live in quite shocking revolutionary times, because a computer will be able to do, and robot will be able to do everything a human being does better, that it's coming. He was saying back then, it's coming. They'll be able to write poetry. They'll be able to do all these things. So once you strip away, you could say the collections of thought and being able to perceive, you can build a robot, after all, able to perceive what's left for what a human being is. And I think he was kind of implying the emotions, but even emotions maybe you can build a robot with emotions eventually too. So this is actually a very mysterious question. It's not so forthright, these kinds of things. Yeah, I mean, to come to a conclusion of objective and subjective when it comes to perception is much more subtle and difficult than to come to that conclusion with the conceptual world.
Yeah, there's not much to say. So the Savatantrika and the Prasangic school, because in the Savatantrika Madhyamika, when they explain something, there's something incomplete. In some sense, there is some space you just left for the dispute. So one side they say is the color is a subjective, therefore it is not truly exist. Subjective, therefore is not truly exist, means truly existing for their definitions, is without subject. The object that by itself that exists is middle way, Savatantrika, they thinks, So that in this way, this is, the color is, the green is not truly exist because it's subjective. Object and the subject together. At the same time, objective evidence of the greenness, which means there's something from the object side which is not relying on the subject or the consciousness. Some degrees. So now the question is there some degree of the objective evidence which is not relying on the subject? Is it green or not? If that's the green, and then how do you say that some greens are truly exist, some greens not truly exist? If that is evident, objective evidence of the green within the leaf is not the green, and then how can you say this is the objective evidence? How can you say the greenness, the inherent in there, if that is not the green, right? So like the person, say the person is, if the person is not found or inherently found within the body, or not within the feeling, not within the anger, the attachment, or faith, of the compassion, not really inherent in eye consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, not inherent in form, sound, smell, taste, tactility. So that proves the person is not inherent in the five aggregates. So because of this kind of because of this is kind of what do you call there's a something they're not accepting this kind of analyze. So they Babashika school says as the collections is there, the person. And Siddhantika school says mental consciousness is the person. And minority school says the mind basis of all is the person. And the medieval autonomous school says, oh, the mind stream of the mental consciousness, sixth mental consciousness is the person. So they have says there's something inherent in, means something, there is the illustrations, something that is one of the part of that that found as a person that is still within the amount in the count of the aggregates. So therefore, the person is inherently exist. So now, if you say if the greenness is objectively evident in the leaf, so objective means to the medieval South Tantrika is without relying on consciousness, right? So something objectively evident from the leaf. Now the question is that the illustration of the green, or it is not the green? If not the green, and then this cannot be objectively evident. So that's why I'm saying that medieval South Tantrika school and minority schools, Siddhantika schools, Sutrantika schools. So whatever they say, they're trying to come up with a point of view that the view is not really so convincing. Views are not really without dispute. There's some contradictions already there, Yeah, the one time I, what do you call it? AI, right? I question, about the color of the sun. Is the AI says the color of the sun is the white. So that the yellowness, the color that we see is the creations from the molecules. And what is the color of the green? It says, oh, that's, question is simple, very profound. And the green, the greenness of the grass is, is also the creation through the atmosphere. And green is independent. And then I asked, what is how the color exists? Is color independent or not? And they says color is independent, but color is independent. The way the color existing is the creation. So there's some kind of incomplete, suggestions, incomplete suggestions. Color independent one side. If independent, is no need to create. It is created, it's not independent. So the Prasangika school says anything that is created through cosmic condition or through relatively created or through constructed from the many factors together, whatever that is, it is creations, therefore not inherently exist, not intrinsically exist, not objectively exist. I think one of the reasons the Savatrantika Madhyamikas keep, holding on that objective evidence is that because of their fear, if they negate intrinsic nature in the phenomena, they think it's falling into nihilism. So you will annihilate every conventional reality. So which means you have, destroyed the path to enlightenment. You have destroyed the faith in law and cause and effect. You have destroyed the practice of the six perfections. So they think this is so significant, and having objective evidence, some degree of the objective evidence, is very essential to continue. Continue on the path to the enlightenment and liberations. So the Prasangika school says, no, you should be satisfied with relatively existing. So relatively existing is undeniably exists. Illusion like phenomena, although it's unreal, but it's the reality. It can be created. Dream objects, although it's not true, but it is the reality. The reflections are not true, but it is the reality. Now you don't say, okay, how dare these people in all time could understand this? They have no shoes to wear, and how can they talk about this settled? So yeah, Master Chandrakirti, yeah.
¿Qué sé?
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, Master Chandrakirti.
¿Qué sé?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear
yes, you. I can hear you. Yes. Why do you think that the lack of intrinsic nature of phenomena can destroy the path of liberation or the message? Or I don't see the connection. Why they think? Why they think that the lack of intrinsic nature of phenomena can destroy the path of liberation or the message of Buddha? Or I don't see the connection.
So they think, if the phenomena do not exist from their own essence, right? So even in some certain degree of the objective evidence from the object side, which means the phenomena do not exist in the reality. So the reality, the real reality means for them is the real means it is already there by their own essence. Right. So it is not real means, the things do not exist from their own essence, so therefore they are not real. And so the only way you can say the phenomena existing is existing in the face of the misconceptions or mistaken perceptions. So the middle way, Savatantrika and the mind-only school thinks is, if you possess anything that exists, just because it exists in the misconceptions and mistaken thought, so that is not enough to have a faith in things that is the real. So, for example, says the elephant, the dream elephant. So, a dream elephant is only, exists in the face of the dream state of mind. The dream state of mind is the mistaken consciousness. So, which can, you can dream 100 elephant in your small bedroom, right? So the elephants are, the dream elephants only exist in the face of that dream state of mind. Beyond that, there is no proof of that evidence, the proof of existing of that elephant. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Dream elephant. Only you can say, I have dreamed elephant. That existing of the dream elephants only exists in the face of the dream state of mind. Beyond that, there is no proof of the existing of that dream elephant. So if you think all conventional realities only exist in the misconceptions or wrong perceptions, so that is kind of, it's implying that the conventionals are only exist in the mistaken thought, mistaken consciousness, and beyond that, they do not exist. So there is no value of the conventional reality. So when you undermine the value of the conventional reality, that is also harmful to generate the faith and the law in cause and effect, harmful to faith and generating compassion to the sentient beings. So your compassions, your faith has not much value. It's just misconceptions or the wrong perceptions.
Okay. And then what will be the answer? What will be the answer from the Prasangika school to that?
The Prasangika school says conventional realities, the existing of the conventional reality is, it's a real because of the relatively. So, when you refute objectivities, when you refute intrinsic natures, you are not, destroying the relatively existence. So the relatively existing is the conventional realities. So sentient beings are the relatively existing, not intrinsic. The relation of the cause and effect is the relatively exist. There is no intrinsic. You should be satisfied with just there merely exists relatively. So the Prasangika schools, you can develop faith and compassion, with a relatively existence. So it's much safer, and there you can see anything that is objectively existing. Sometimes this become objectively existing means pre-existing, and then it has become independent. It has become uncaused. So there is no change in that. If the suffering is objectively evident, if the suffering is, intrinsically exists, and then that is independent and uncaused, uncreated. So there is no cause and condition to change the suffering. So you think that, oh, free from all suffering is impossible. But the suffering exists by their own essence. Right?
Right.
So that's the Prasangic schools, the understanding is, you don't really lose the faith in the east directions. You don't lose the faith in the west directions, although you are not able to find the east in the house or in the soil on the mountain. But that does not really, that does not really destroy the concept of east. The east exists because of the west. A tall man exists because of the short man. Short man exists because of the tall. And that side exists because of this side. Is a relatively existing is the perfect base for developing, the 6 perfections and the compassions, like that. Yeah, for example, this is when you in the address which says this is North Park Avenue. So this is the north. So North Park Avenue is any objectively evident, from the house or the soil. Then this cannot be found as the west or south or the north. So you can also find relatively this very North Park Avenue can be, found as the west or south or north, relatively. So the right or the wrong is the relatively exists. There is no pre-existing right by itself. There is no virtue that by itself, pre-existing by itself is the virtue. There's no non-virtues by itself. So all relatively exist. So it's okay? Christine? So yeah, the Master Chandrakirti also stated in the commentary that some assert that the refutation of arising by the noble Nagarjuna in the treatises in the lines such as not from itself, not from others, refers to the rejection of arising of the relation to the impute natures, whereby subject and object are conceived as a being subsequently different. So Nagarjuna thinks that when you analyze, arising, or it arises by itself, or others, or both, or without cause. So that the very analyzing is you are analyzing objectively. So it's become the inquiring into the suchness. So this is not the conventional analyzing. So conventional analyze means if you find the mice in your house and you try to find the way how they get into, it is from the back side of home or it's underground, or this is conventional analyze. So when you analyze how things arises by itself or other or both or without cause is inquiring into suchness. So in this way, you cannot find anything. You cannot find anything that arises by itself. There's no way you can find anything that arises from the other, or you cannot find anything arises from the both. You cannot find anything that arises from the without cause. So therefore, nothing, arising is not objectively exist, not inherently exist. So, yeah. Some assert the refutations arising by the noble Nagarjuna in the treatises in the lines, nor from itself, nor from others, refers to the rejections of the arising relation to the impute natures, whereby subject and object are conceived as being subsequently different. So this is the so it does not refer to the negation of the true existing of a dependent nature, since they cannot establish this claim without evidence. Those who interpret, right, thus deserve only to be disputed and examined. Some early Tibetan scholars claim that the opponents here in the Chittamati, right? Stiramati. And what's the Thiramati? Shijabadeva. Yeah, so this is the one of the master's name. So yeah, sometimes it's very good because the Tibetan translators the whole time they even translate even the name. We call Loben Loden. So now here saying that although the Nagarjuna and the Chandrakirti has a very very accurately, right? They explain in the Prasanga school point of view, but still some of the minority school masters, following Chandrakirti's Nagarjuna's, and they interpret it in the minority school base, right? So in the minority school, Stiramati, Lobilotiteba, Lobilotin. But such statements are not readily found in his work. Dhammapala, Lobe Inye. Yeah, some early Tibetan years found in his work. Dharmapala, in his commentary on the 400 stanzas, reputedly to interpret the view of the 400 to be Chitramatras. So it is more appropriate to relate this critique to the Dharmapala. So still, all the Prasangika schools are very clear about their point of view of the relatively existing, but the follower, sometimes they interpret even the Prasangika school to the Chittamati school. So the question now is, how do you those who interpret the meaning of the profound sutra in Chittamatra terms explain the intent of the treatises of the noble Nagarjunas, the work of the great one, such as the masters, the Vasubandhus, contain no explicit statement about how they would interpret meaning of the Nagarjuna status in works such a rule of expositions, basing himself on the unraveling the intent sutra. So unraveling the thought of the Buddha. So third turning wheel of the Dharmas. So some masters, they're trying to match the Nagarjuna's point of view with Chittamatra and, basing with third turning wheel of the Dharma. So third turning wheel of the Dharma, there's 10 or 11 chapters. So one of the chapter is talking about the mind-only school. They're trying to, fit so the Nagarjuna into mind-only school. Chittamatra terms in the treatises, noble Nagarjunas, the works of the great ones, such as the master Vasubandhus, no explicit statement about how they will interpret the meaning of the Nagarjuna status in works such as the rule of exposition, basing himself on the unraveling the intent sutra. Vasubandhu appears to characterize the perfection of the wisdom sutra as provisional. Yeah. So thus we could assume he would explain the Nagarjuna treatises. Similarly, it seems inconceivable that the Vasubandhu would refute the noble Nagarjuna's treatises. But at the same time, if he were to explain them according to their, literal meaning, then what reason would he have not to do the same for the perfection of the wisdom sutras? So now, if he were to interpret Nagarjuna's work, so as a non-literal, right? Non-literal. So sometimes we use the term interpretable and definitive states. So now in this translation is non-literal or the interpretable terms. He would clearly do so from the Chittamatra standpoint. So this means that in Nagarjunas and Dharmakirtis, so their way of, the understanding the sutra, so they always things, Prajaparamita sutras, particularly Heart sutras, so it's a literally from. And minority schools, many autonomous schools, they don't really take the Heart sutra as literally, because there's some need to interpret, if in the Heart Sutras, even the 5 aggregates of empty of intrinsic existence, empty of intrinsic existence, and there's no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no textures. So, in Heart Sutras, that literally negating the intrinsic, intrinsic natures. So, minority school and the medieval autonomous schools, they accept intrinsic nature. So then they go on interpreting that, even the 5 aggregates are empty of intrinsic existence, instead of saying even the 5 aggregates are, empty of truly existence. Right? Not truly exist, but intrinsically exist. So this is, what Buddha meant is not truly exist, because they accept the intrinsic existence. So even the Vasubandhus follows Nagarjuna, but he he don't really come up the argument to the Nagarjuna. The way he explained, and then he has to, he's not going to accept literally in the Prajaparamita Sutra.
His Holiness mentioned a few times about the word even to 5 areas.
Yeah.
There's other things already negated in. Just emphasizing that it's also.
Yeah, Pumongo with the Layang, Rashin Getoman of Yang of Jesutawa. So, even the 5 aggregates means these are the conditional phenomena. This is for the mind-only school and the Sotandika school. This is anything that is born from cosmic conditions truly exists. So, and what does not truly exist, like space, not truly exists. The general concept, general particulars that not truly exist. So in the Heart Sutras, even the 5 aggregates, although the permanent mental projections, although they are not truly exist, even the 5 aggregates are not truly exist. So even that includes everything. So yeah, he's wanted to mention that in the Chinese version of the Heart Sutra, there is no even. And the even is not missing, then you are not. You're not even. Yes, Larry, you want to say something?
No, I'm still. I'm aware that I still don't really have a grip on this thing between inherent exists and truly exist. I have to review that. I still don't.
I think here the inherent. In Tibetan, we call rangshinki, rangönes. The rangs means rang is referring to the self, like color itself, flower itself, person itself. So there's some kind of entity, and inherently means entity. If the color is inherent, the color has to be exist or arises from its own basis. The base of the color, the base of the greenness of the leaf, if that is inherent. So inherent color of the leaf is inherent, means the only way it's inherent is the leaf itself. If the person is inherent, the person is inherent from the body, feeling, and so whatever the main basis. So you have to find that entity from its own basis. I think there's not much difference. The English translation, in the dictionaries, that inherent means something that is already there within that basis. It is not imposed. It is not imposed on there. It is from its own basis. Yeah, sometimes the inherent nations. If me as a Tibetan is inherent, so then normally people say, "Oh, it's inherent in the blood. You are Tibetan. From the blood, you are Tibetan." So if you draw the blood, probably you cannot find Tibetan there. But this is how people think. You cannot erase the Tibetan nations because it's inherent in the blood. So I think, yeah, you can. So far you just understand that inherent and opposite is imposed, something that you have imposed on that, like you impose the feather on the arrow. So it's just there. You can impose the picture, your picture on the wall. So if the wall, from the wall side it exists, you don't need to impose on that. If the person yourself is inherent in the body, and the person not need to impose. So the Prasangika school says the person is imposed based on the collection of the aggregates. And the minority school says the person is not imposed. It is there within the five aggregates. It exists from the five aggregates. It is the one of the five aggregates. And the Vaibhashika school says, oh, the person is the collection of the five aggregates. And the medical autonomous school says, oh, a person is the mind mind stream of the sixth mental consciousness. So it's something inherent there. So the opposite side, the Prasangika schools, it is imposed, is projected, is the creation. So which means the mind stream is not the person, or collections of the five aggregates not a person, and mental consciousness, the sixth mental consciousness not a person, and the continuity of mental consciousness not a person, mind basis all is not a consciousness, not a person. So therefore, if the person is not exists from the body, feeling, perceptions, then it must have imposed on the collections.
It just sounds like the same kind of distinction you'd make between fabricated and unfabricated. Unfabricated would be inherent, wouldn't it? Whereas fabricated would be imposed.
Yeah, the fabrications, I think here, the imposed in terms of, in the creations. So then color is, in the Prasangika school, it is imposed, it is a creation, it's created from the content of that. But if you think the impose, like conceptually imposing, then maybe color is not that conceptually imposed. So the self, the person, and the relations and the law and cause and effect are the conceptually imposed. The color, shape, size is, and directions are not conceptually imposed. It's a relatively, it's constructed.
So you're making a kind of a finer distinction here. I think in a way you're saying color is not conceptually fabricated, but it does arise interdependently. It's not inherent.
It's not inherent.
It's not inherent, and it's not fabricated.
Yeah.
But it arises interdependently.
So yeah, the color is you can say color is color as the creations that is directly perceived through the sensual perceptions. So when I say, oh, Larry is here, the Larry as a as a whole, which contains the body, feeling, perceptions all together, that kind of Larry cannot be seen to the sense of perceptions. It has to be understood in the mind.
So you're saying Larry is conceptually created.
Yes. The Larry is conceptually created. Larry having body, Larry having feeling, Larry is having thought is also conceptual creations.
And that's kind of the same, isn't it, as talking about collections? Larry is a collection of these things
Not a collection. I think you have to first you have to make a distinctions. The Siddhantika school point of view, or minor school point of view, or the Vaibhashika point of view, or the Prasangic school point of view. So the Vaibhashika schools, for them, the Larry is intrinsically exists. It's not a fabrication. Because Larry exists in the collection of the aggregates. Because collection of the Larry's body, mind, feeling is the Larry. In the Siddhantika school, Larry's mental consciousness, the continuity mental consciousness, is the Larry. Minor only school, not the eye consciousness, not the tongue consciousness, not body consciousness, not mental consciousness. The eighth consciousness, the mind basis all, is the Larry. So they think their Larry can be found within the five aggregates. So therefore, they say Larry is intrinsically exist. It's not like non-Buddhist school thinking independent, permanent, but it is impermanent, but it can be found within aggregates. Now, who is rejecting the intrinsic natures? The Prasangic school. Prasangic school says, Larry is conceptually fabricated, constructed, created. Oh. Zoom is disappeared. What happened? Maybe Marian is gone. So she is the.
She's the host?
Yeah, she is the host. What can I do now? Yeah, do it again?
Yeah.
Oh, it's taking a long time. Let me see. Delete. It's because the internet? What internet?
YouTube is working?
Yeah, YouTube is working.
maybe internet.
The internet is getting bigger now.
Looks like internet's down.
Okay, Ben. You can maybe stop here. Easter. So, yeah. We are going to stop here. Chanju semja rinpoche, ma jeba na jeju jeba nyamba meba nya, kondo peba. Tonya dawa rinpoche, ma jeba na jeju jeba nyamba meba nya, kondo peba. Pama semja damjen, dedan denju ngendo tamje dawa tonga. Chanju semba kanda seju tada kuje, monong durje. Kare rawe gobe shenga su, pendande wama lu joma ne, jere sawa, tenzin jazu yi shabe, sede balu denju ruchi.
May the precious body mind not yet born arise and grow. May the bone have no decline but increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet born arise and grow. May the bone have no decline but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all the happiness, and may all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are Bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. More powerful Tenzin Gyatso, remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you. Oh, now I notice. Yeah, it was the link to the Shirap extension.
Oh. It was working before and
Yeah. Now he's coming here.
coming back again.
Yeah. He's still there. Oh, look, Larry. So we're going to stop here. It is not there. Okay, bye-bye.